I wouldn't dare get any closer because otherwise he'd wake up and it'd be too hot.
Yeah, in
Madison's that new bed.
in the
I feel when we
Shabbat.
move, I think I'm going to buy a king size.
So Tanya would have quilt, blanket, dressing gown, and I'd have a quilt.
So the twin mattresses. So at least it's good now.
And like I'd pajama shorts, maybe a pajama top, and blanket, and I'm good. She's in winter pajamas, quilt, blanket,
And then my dressing gown.
on top.
Yeah, I just have the sheet on her. And I said to Todd, I said, I feel sorry for you when I get menopause. I know what I'm gonna do.
I do what I do in summer, sleep with the aircon on.
Oh my God. So what do you do?
Yes.
What do you do? So what are you going to get a king when you just cover yourself?
I actually like shrugging up in bed.
Except the waist.
Exactly, it's great.
My problem is, can you sit on my lap and have a little warm?
You know what I'm No one's sitting there, so.
Alright, well let's just try it, okay? Like,
Yeah.
oh
no! You're all the
Well, we've officially upgraded all the kids' mattresses this week now.
Kind of look lucky.
We went and bought the koala mattresses. The koala brand mattress. It's Australian made.
Yeah, we got ripped off. We only got 2 toy koalas and we got 3 mattresses.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I need
Jessie
to ring
missed
them.
out.
I need to ring them.
Jessie missed out when she gave hers to Anna.
What's so special about them?
Oh,
The mattresses
but they
have
don't.
little stuffed koalas.
They're,
What else is so special about them?
they're a cross between memory foam and latex. So it's got that nice, but they breathe. They're designed so the mattress breathes.
So just like naughtiness from.
So because it breathes, you don't get this hot.
Yeah, which is why I had to rug up more this winter.
The regular price is $750 for the single mattresses, and I just waited for a special, and I ended up getting them for $650 each.
Even the queen is.
No, the queen. I don't know. They're over $1,000 for a queen or whatever.
Yeah, but it's so comfortable that if I'm out of the house and Dad's having trouble sleeping, he can just go in my bed.
1,200 or something. But yeah, like I've bought cheaper mattresses for the kids, and they just have not lasted the distance.
They
And
just don't last
the,
comfortable at the end when the springs start poking through.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, once
That
we
was where I got my koala mattress because I could literally feel the springs when I was lying down.
Yeah.
You know the Princess and the Pea?
No. Is that a vegetarian?
No.
It's Abigail and
That's
the Smog mattress, the real life version.
So the Princess and the Pea, apparently they say they're
Oh, thank you.
Only a princess could feel a pea stuck into the bed frame under the mattress.
so the thing was they said they put 6 mattresses on the bed and they'd have 1 pea underneath and they'd feel it because they're such a princess.
Once we used to have more expensive mattresses. Then we had to change them. And we bought a really cheap mattress. But it was so awesome.
Or for you.
For us. It was so awesome that we ended up buying one for the little ones. One for Kayla.
Oh, really?
It was incredible.
Oh, that's alright.
But they were really,
Yeah.
but they were really cheap. I was talking about $300.
In the spring?
Yes.
Yeah, we just haven't had that much luck.
No way, tell me that's not true. Well, then again, you know
you
how long her hair is,
that better?
Tanya?
How long? Your hair is
It's up to the middle of her. Yeah, it's up to here.
What's your hair?
Because it springs up.
Oh.
Yeah, incredibly long.
I got it. Look at it. Look at space.
Your nose!
Alright, don't worry about it.
Give me my nose back. Thank you.
And my
I put it back.
See?
I've got it.
You're on holidays today.
Got it.
Katrina.
No, I don't.
You're on holidays today. You look at me. Oh, you're just like this. Chilly.
I was just looking at my work emails, that's why it confused me. I'm like, oh, am I? I better.
Cheers.
For the next 2 weeks, I'm doing my boss's job, so I'm the unit manager for the next 2 weeks. And so I've got all her emails. It's like about 20 last from yesterday, and I'm like, whoa.
I like your zits.
So I'll just share the anointed juice.
It is now.
What's going there?
I came across a beautiful scripture this week in the girls' homeschool. That Jehovah takes care of us like a bird takes care of her eggs in a nest. That's how he looks for us.
I mean, it doesn't rhyme.
Just think about it.
There's only one word there that starts with N.
Yeah, thank you.
Jesse and I got crank. Yeah, that's alright. Just thought about what I was saying. It's all good.
Well, I don't know if he brought that chair thing for you or for him. You can rock on that chair, it's perfect. You know, we're going to throw that armchair into the hard rubbish a week or two ago. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mom was.
I thought that you were the one
Hey, if you need somewhere to store it, our lounge room's missing a chair at the moment.
It's finger now.
I don't know what happened to
I love the heat bit on this.
This is up to you. Yeah, it's okay. Let's have it. Oh, did I?
No, it's just perfect.
Who cracked the neck?
It's not a problem. I'm so seen that before.
Precious spot.
But it's gonna see the spider. No, that.
Gotcha.
But then again, cousins were on and everyone else was on server.
Yeah, but what is
I got your hair. I got your hair.
The whole week he's been walking around the house and whoever comes across he just punches him.
He hasn't punched me all week.
But he's been punching Sam.
He hasn't punched me all week.
Hey-ya!
How? She cut your nose. Mom, come.
So, I said, I'd love to buy that for buy for Kayla. She loves the arches. She likes the arches. I'm slowly trying to Matt? Did you ever watch the Archies? Read the comics, sorry?
Oh, yeah, I read them when I was a kid. I was actually mortified when I read. I used to have the Christian ones. And then, yeah, the Nazi ones. That's all I'd read. Then I saw the other regular ones. I was horrified. They actually argued with each other, and
What do you mean there were Christian Archie ones?
they were. I don't know where my mum found them, but she found them. Back
Okay,
in the
you
day.
ready to start?
So you have a whole collection of
Do you know how much they're worth now?
Yeah, I was
They're worth a bundle of my
so
mum.
annoyed that I threw mine out. And that's why they're worth all the money, because they're worth.
We used to go to the trash and treasures, and everywhere we went, I would look specifically for Archie comics. Now they're worth a bundle.
Can I turn this on while you work?
Oh, is it your turn?
Go for it.
Just
wondering.
Careful, Samito.
I've got no idea.
Mary, is that my Bible there? My Torah?
Sammy, you making coffee?
Is it? Can you pass it to me? Yeah, I think it is.
Green one?
Yeah,
What?
thank you.
No more?
Dad, do you want your
Even after 8 hours?
I can't make any more.
It's okay, my prince.
Alright.
Is that no?
Keep your mother
So
happy.
you've been told.
No, it's okay.
Happy mom, happy life.
Piancito, Matthew, pásame mi Biblia, please. Thank you.
Alright. So, we'll leave Trinity for next week.
Badelia, I don't think this hot chocolate.
Matthew, mi lapicero está en mi casa.
Alright, let's talk a bit about Paul's laws.
No podía pasar.
It's okay, it's okay.
The laws of the Apostle Paul.
Paul.
Alright. Avinu Malkeinu, Father, King, may you give us your words. May the words of men disappear. May you speak to us according to your will. May we have ears to hear and eyes to see what the Ruach has for us tonight. In Yeshua's name we commit ourselves into your hands. Amen. Okay. So give me some of Paul's laws that you can think of. Top of your head.
Do not marry.
Do not marry.
Woman should
We
not
need
walk
references
into
too.
congregation.
Oh, I don't know my Bible yet.
Woman not talking into congregation is.
Alright, hold on. One at a time because I need to write them down.
Abigail, can you get my Bible? You know where the Bible's at? I'm not Jesse.
Okay. Is it Galatians? I think so.
Is there a blue one, Scriptures? No, is there another one here?
Paul's laws, circumcision.
Hold on.
Can I bring the green
Alright,
one?
so
Can I have
what was
the
the
green
first
one?
one, Joe? That you said?
Do not marry.
Do
Gracias.
not marry.
Corinthians 13.
Double R?
The rest will be do not marry.
Sorry, Jesse and
No
Sammy.
marry? No me? Marry?
Paul said do not marry.
Sorry, Jesse. Okay. Clip your wings.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys.
That's it. It's off. No. Anyway. Alright, what's the next one? Kayla?
Not funny.
Woman not talking into congregation.
Be silent in the congregation, women.
I'm sure Pabs knows why right now.
But Paul said,
Women, be silent.
they can't preach.
They told you.
Yep. Circumcision. I need to circumcise, guys. No circumcision.
Tablet.
Didn't know you could take that
Don't
one
drink
back.
blood.
Should we take it back?
They used to.
Alright.
Don't drink blood.
Don't drink blood. No, that wasn't Paul.
That's a Torah.
It's one of his ones.
Covering.
Huh?
It's one of his ones that he gets.
It's actually from the
Yeah.
Council of Jerusalem. So it was given by the Council of Jerusalem, not by Paul.
Like he recommended it.
He recommended it after, yes.
Men
But
shouldn't
that's
have
not one of
long
his
hair.
laws. We're talking about specific Paul's law.
Be imitators of
Women
him.
covering.
Imitate me. Okay.
What? Be imitators of Paul.
That's not really a law, really. Is it?
Imitate me. Become
Alright, we'll put
imitators
it
of
there.
me.
Right, okay. We'll put it. Imitate me.
The women will be saved through childbirth. So women have to.
Yep.
People will be saved through childbirth. Saved.
Saved.
So that means the ones that come,
No,
they're
that's
going
it.
to
Yeah.
somewhere else.
H-E double hop.
So the younglings have to hurry up and have the children.
Saved through childbirth.
Just the fact that
That's for
Paul's
women
laws
only.
is Paul epistles.
Women only.
Aaron's got a few. Aaron, what else is there?
Alright, hold on. Relax. Sorry?
I
You
just
had one?
no, Jesse did.
Jesse?
He's yelled it out a couple of times.
Which one?
What?
Women should wear head coverings.
Head coverings. Yeah, cover your heads, ladies. Workers, everyone.
It's a,
Okay, I need all the passages, please.
oh.
Yeah.
First
I'm not working.
Corinthians 11 on imitate me.
Okay. 1 Corinthians 11.
Yeah.
What?
1.
1. Okay. What's the next one?
Does the head covering one cover also clothing, a certain kind of clothing, and how you should dress? The dress
That's a
code?
different commandment, is it?
Okay, then put that one then.
Modesty. Modest dressing.
I think it's 4, but it's not.
Oh, modesty. We'll cover around the modesty.
Probably
Put all everything.
What do you?
Modesty, yep. What's the chapter for modesty?
Let's have a look.
Okay, so women be silent. I'm gonna give you that one, Kayla. It's 1 Corinthians.
I knew it was one.
14:34.
I was going through all of them.
Is when he states that anyone who relies on observing the law in order to gain salvation is cursed. Is that a law?
Sorry?
When Paul said anyone who relies on observing the law in order to gain salvation is cursed.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to. squeeze
Would
in
that be a
between
law?
there.
Would that be a law?
The law of no law. No law, law. The law of no law.
That's Galatians.
Galatians.
Galatians 3:10.
So that's Galatians 3,
10 to 13.
10 to 13. The law of no law. Okay. Any others? Do not marry. Where's that?
I'm looking for it.
Head coverings is 1 Corinthians 11:10.
Alright, he's hitting the Corinthians really hard.
No, of course.
What is it?
Head coverings.
Yep.
1 Corinthians 11:10.
Okay. 1 Corinthians 11:10.
The last one, modesty, is 1 Timothy
Yep.
2:9.
So 9.
I'll have to drink wine with your food.
Drink wine. You have to drink wine with your food, guys.
I feel like I'm one of the little boys.
That would be Lucas, wouldn't it?
Nothing's Timothy.
Timothy?
But drink wine with food for your stomach.
Make sure it's under 13 degrees.
Yeah.
I think we'll get past that, yeah.
Well, we're gonna see. Is it a commandment or a suggestion? These
Well,
are Paul's laws. So we're gonna.
are they
You're gonna
laws?
give me the answer.
Are they
right?
laws?
You're gonna be giving me the
Full
answers.
of you.
So drink wine with your food. Where's that?
Oh, I can't remember. I know
It's in the Bible.
It's in one of the Pauline little letters. I don't have my phone or anything.
No, the phone stays in. Okay. Do not marry is 1 Corinthians 7.
Oh, it's the first Corinthians 7.
So if you want to give me the actual verse, that would be good. 1 Corinthians 7. 7?
8.
8.
I was wondering
Drink
if that
wine
was
with
it.
food. Timothy.
Let each one remain in the
5:23.
same calling.
Well, that's the same as do not marry. 1 Timothy 5:23, is that right? For the stomach? 1 Timothy 5:23.
Yeah.
No circumcision, that's in Romans.
2:25 to 29.
Romans 2:25 to
29.
29. Okay. Saved through childbirth.
1 Timothy 2:15.
1 Timothy 2:15.
2:15.
Okay. Alright, I know there's more, but
Isn't the
Yep.
Circumcision Acts 15?
circumcision, there's a few of them, but we can add them in. Yeah, Acts 15. What verse?
1 to
Timothy,
10, I think.
Timothy also says about women to be quiet as well.
Yep, whereabouts is that?
1 Timothy 2, there's
1
11 to
Timothy 2,
and
11,
12. Yeah.
12?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 Timothy 2, 11. Okay. Any other ones we need to add? Quickly or?
Try to look the one that he talks about running the good race. Is that a law or is that just an opinion statement?
Which one?
Run the good race. So that we actually, whatever we do, we accomplish this task, not that we don't make it.
Is that a law, really?
Well, are the others laws or are they just statements that he's made?
We've got to check it out. Yeah, we'll check it out. Alright, so,
Let me look for that.
yep.
What about the law of sin and death?
No, that's actually a law. It's got nothing to do with law.
If you do a search for those laws, you'll find stacks of them.
So, yeah, no. I don't want to do that. I want us to look at it and work together. 8, and it's verses 4 to 13, I think. So, where's run the race with endurance?
Oh, there's a number of them, but Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 9:24.
1 Corinthians 9.
24. There's many others, but that's one of them.
Yep. Book of Acts as well.
Yep.
Hebrews. Yep. Okay. Alright. I think we've got enough to start with. Alright. Now, can we each pick one and read it? Okay, so who's going to read the first one? We'll assign it.
I'll read it.
Okay. So, yep, Travis is going to read that one. He's going to read the next one.
I can do that.
Is it that?
Me.
Mary? Okay, Mary. Okay, he's going to read 1 Corinthians 14. Rob. Okay. He's going to read the next one. 1 Timothy 2.
Would I?
Yep. Matthew. Okay. 1 Timothy 5:23. Kevin. I assigned you. Alright.
I accept.
Romans 2:25 to 29. Ian, can you read that one? Acts 15. Aaron.
I want Timothy.
Timothy.
Can I do Timothy?
Okay, you can do Timothy.
Oh dear.
2:15.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the Acts one?
Acts 15.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll check this first.
Is it that one? Where am I? I'm lost here.
Down, no circumcision.
Alright?
Yep.
Okay. Fruits offered to idols, I can read that one. Because I got it, yeah. Imitate me.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Okay. Anyone not chosen yet? Graham? Okay, you do the next one, Graham. And Nigel, you can do Corinthians?
Yep.
Or Timothy, which one? Which one would you like?
Whichever.
Alright. One more. Samuel. 1 Timothy 2:9. Okay. There's more to come, so the rest of you will also get a chance. Yes?
Do we have women teaching on there? And women having authority?
Oh.
That's the second two.
Alright, go on.
That's included in the 11 and 12 as well.
Sort of.
To
But
be
they're
women
different.
and so on. Yeah.
Kevin's upset stomach. That's massaging.
Okay. Okay, what are the verses, please?
That's 2 Timothy
second.
12.
2 Timothy 12, this
Yeah.
one?
1 Timothy 12.
2
Is it two?
Timothy.
Was it 2? No, 1 Timothy 2, 12.
2:12.
Yeah.
Okay, Jesse back can read this one.
It's kind of being read up where women be silent anyway because it's 11
Yeah.
and 12 up there.
Alright, well, we'll keep them separate. And what's the other one? The other women teaching?
Pretty sure it's the same verse.
Same verse.
First, Timothy 2. It's on the same verse. Okay. So we don't need anyone else for that one. Alright, and I need someone to read Deuteronomy 4:2 for me. And that's going to be Jesse Harris.
4:2.
Alright, did I miss anyone? There'll be more anyway. Alright, let's start reading. We're gonna become scholars after this.
Matthew has a question.
Yep, go on.
There's another verse we say through childbirth. It's 1 Timothy 2:15.
It's on there already.
First
Somewhere.
Timothy 2.
Oh, it's there.
Alright, sorry.
Just something like
Yep. Okay. Yep. Alright, let's start.
Okay. And I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. That's it.
Even as I am.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the state?
He's not married, he's a widow.
Doesn't tell us anything about what state he is. Is that
And to the married I command, not I, but the master wife should not separate from her husband.
okay? So he begins by saying to the unmarried.
Yep.
To remain even as I am. So he gives to understand that he's not married and that people shouldn't marry. What do you guys think?
Well, for starters, he was a member of the Sanhedrin, so he had to be either married or widowed.
Okay, so
Right.
he had been married.
So
Yep.
he was divorced or widowed. Those are the two possibilities.
Maybe it's
So-
not the problem, he's married. And then he says, be you, imitate me. Yeah.
See, because by being alone, he would be able to be sent to the different works that Abba had for him, but at the time he had to fulfill either being married, divorced, or widowed.
Yeah. Hopefully it was a widow.
So do I.
Otherwise it doesn't make sense, it says he imitates me.
Okay, let's go to 1 Timothy 4:3. Someone can help me with that one? 1 Timothy 4:3.
Good Timothy.
Forbidding to marry, so abstaining from foods which Elohim created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth.
Okay, so go the verse before.
Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having been branded on their own conscience.
Just start from one better.
Start from 1.
But the Ruach distinctly says that in latter times some shall fall away from the belief, paying attention to misleading spirits and teachings of demons,
Teachings of
speaking
demons.
lies and hypocrisy, having been
Yep.
branded on their own conscience, forbidding to marry, to abstain from food which Elohim created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth.
So 1 to 4. Yep.
Because every creature of Elohim is good and none is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple there, but
Well, doesn't the Catholic Church prohibit them from marrying?
yep. We don't care about the Catholics, but yeah.
No, but you know, in the later days, so it's
Yeah. So, this one says the forbidding to marriage is the doctrine of demons, right? Of demons.
Yep.
So,
At the same time, you
got to go and multiply. So it's a matter of marrying, and
so this is the same guy that is saying you are not to marry.
it can't be contradictory.
So he's having an identity crisis. I think he needs to go and see the psychologist because he's got split personality. Right? On the one hand, he's telling you not to marry. On the other hand, he's telling you
Marry.
it's doctrines of demons when people forbid you to marry. Right? So either he's got an identity issue, or we are misunderstanding something.
Or later.
Verse 9,
Verse 9. Yep.
1 Corinthians 7.
Verse 9.
Hang on, I'll go back to it.
He's also saying that you can eat unclean animals.
Is it? Or we are understanding that?
But if they do not have self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than burn with desire.
Mm-hmm. So is it a law or a I think it would be better for you not to marry,
It's a statement.
but if you can control yourself, you know, it's better for you to marry, right? So is it a law? This is the point I'm making. Is it a law?
No.
It's an opinion.
It's an opinion. It's a judgment
Yeah.
of sorts, right?
What is...
Advice.
Advice, like a father does advise his son. I think you should do this because this, and that. It's different to say no. You're gonna do this, right? So there's a difference between a law and a counsel or a judgment, right? There are differences between these things. Does Paul say you have to do it, or is he recommending? Because of the evil of this age, it is good for a man to have his own wife, right? He says that somewhere else, right? He says, when he's talking about it's better for a man to remain even as I am, but If you can't do it, right?
Don't
Because
force yourself.
you know it's better if you can't do it. If you don't have the gift to do that, then it's better for you to marry, right? So these are the two things. He's putting both sides on the balance for you, and he's telling you what is better. It doesn't mean that it's a law. Do we understand that? Does that make sense? Are we happy with that? Because otherwise, he's having, identity issues. Because here he's saying his doctrines of demons when you are forbidden to marry.
Aside from that, the Torah says that we should multiply.
Yeah,
And
this
some
fruit
here
from
we have.
multiplies to be.
These are letters he's writing
Mhm.
to different people.
So here he's writing to the Corinthians.
Yeah, could that play into account?
Well,
Who
of course.
he's wanting to talk to.
So basically, we have one side of the letter, right? We don't know what the letter that was sent to him is about. So he's answering something that was happening in Corinth. We don't know what that was. We can speculate from history, from our understanding of what was Corinth like. But it's speculation. We only got one side of the letter, and we are drawing from it the best we can. But did he establish a law by saying, I counsel you not to marry? I wish all men were even as I am. That's a wish, not a command. Right? So let's be clear, Paul is not making any laws when he's saying that.
And as that is the true fact,
Yep.
why then, especially in the Christian church, they make doctrines out of what Paul said, out of all the other disciples,
Mhm.
the men of God and women of God that Abba has raised, that are written in Scripture. He's one of the most quoted for Paul said, Paul said, Paul said. Now, he wrote a lot of letters which are called epistles, but the fact is that they are his opinion, his voicing an idea based on certain things, but not as a, Abba said so.
Yeah.
Very
John
different.
said a lot of things
But-
as well.
Yeah.
People do turn things to fit what they want.
Yeah.
Their agenda.
Like, it's very easy to move a single male priest from here to here to here to
Yeah.
here, because all they've got to do is move him.
Yeah.
But
So
if
if
he's
we
married,
Yeah.
he may not want to move because of his family.
But the same man that says do not marry had to be married at some point.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't be a member of the Sanhedrin if he wasn't married. Right? Not in any capacity of judgment, right? The 70 elders had to be married, husbands of wife. The same things that he points out in Timothy. That's the requirements for a member of the Sanhedrin. Right? How can he govern the house of God unless he knows how to govern his own house?
That's significant.
So Paul had to be married. So there are two possibilities, as Rob said. It's either divorced or he's a widow. Right? Most likely the second one. But is he stating a law? I don't think so. Doesn't make sense. All right, the next one. The no law law.
No. Galatians 3:10. For as many as are of work of Torah are under the curse, for it has been written, cursed is anyone who does not continue in all that has been written in the book of the Torah, to do them. And that no one is declared right by Torah before Elohim is clear, for the righteousness shall live by belief. And the Torah is not of belief, but the man who does them shall live by them. Messiah redeemed us from the curse of the Torah, having become a curse for us. For it has been written, cursed is everyone who hangs upon a tree.
There it is, guys. No more law. Let's go home. What are we doing on Shabbat?
That's it.
So what do you guys think? How do we defend that? How do we answer to that?
Well, you bring it back to the English and see that it actually says the curse of the law, and then take it to Deuteronomy 28, but there is a curse of the law.
Yeah. But that still doesn't negate the fact that he's saying that there's nothing that comes from the law in terms of salvation.
If speaks of the curses of the law,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that Yeshua wore the curse for us
Mm-hmm.
in order for salvation. It does not mean that the curse is no longer there. It means that Yeshua wore it for us.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of blessing and cursing, in life, it doesn't speak of that.
Mm.
It just speaks of salvation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Paul's point is very clear. So how do we say it's not about not having the law? Because it says if someone wants to keep the law, he must keep all of it, right? And unless you keep all of it, there is there is no
If you don't keep it,
no
then
salvation, because there's no salvation through the law.
there's salvation through Yeshua, the Messiah.
Yeah. Verses,
And it says,
scriptures. Give me scriptures, no words.
for all those who rely on the deeds of the Torah are under a curse. For cursed is anyone who does not keep doing everything written in the scroll.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, we know that. Deuteronomy 28. That's the passage that he's referring to. So in there, he's referring to Deuteronomy 28, right? Let's put that up. But how do we defend it? How do we answer against that? The fact that Paul seems to be saying you don't need to keep the law. Is that what Paul is saying? You don't need to keep the law.
The law itself is not cursed.
Huh?
The law itself is not cursed. It's,
The law is not cursed? Yeah.
there are curses in the law.
But the law doesn't
Parts
bring
of the law.
salvation.
And there are also blessings in the law.
Mm-hmm.
So, but him who lives under the law is not cursed.
But we want to be saved, so we don't care about that law because we just want to be saved.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that there is no law. It didn't say, they just said
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua bore the curse of the law.
Right?
But the law still stands.
Mm-hmm. What's the curse of the law that Yeshua took? Making you guys work for it.
The law of sin and death.
Well, not even death could hold him down. So he died and rose
Yep.
on the third day.
So he annulled the law, destroyed it.
You know, he annulled the curse.
Very good.
You're playing
Yeah.
word games, are you?
Yeah.
So it's the Torah.
Because this is what happens.
I know,
right,
I
in
know.
a- in
People
a- in a
actually do that,
context.
yeah.
Because this is what we're taught.
Yep.
That this means that the law has been done away with. Obviously, it's not that. But how do we defend that? How do we say, I want biblical texts, guys. I want the hard stuff. Give me hard stuff to say. How do we know the law wasn't done away with?
What's that verse?
We're trying to think about it, Hannah.
It's in Matthew, isn't it?
It's somewhere.
Where he said that he
Between
didn't
Genesis
come
and
to
Revelation.
do away with the law.
Yeah.
But
Very good.
it's in Matthew, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just with play rude.
Okay, so we got to play rude, the law. Okay. I did not come to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. What else?
What about the fact that when speaking about circumcision,
We haven't got to circumcision yet.
yeah, no, but
So Matthew 5:17 to 20, the one that Kayla was talking about. Matthew 5:17 to 20. Do not think I came to destroy the law, but to play ruin, to do it, to make it full,
oh yeah.
to fill up the law. Matthew 5:17 to 20. And it's a valid understanding, you know, if you don't know about this stuff, it's easy to get sidetracked and to see it the other way. Paul is actually saying the law is done away with. Matthew 5, it's got the word pleiru, which means to fulfill, or to fill in, or to do. Basically change the word to do. I did not come to destroy the law, but to do it. Yep, to make it full. Yes, brother.
With some of the things that Paul said, they were to do with the culture of the day as well, weren't they?
Yep, absolutely. We need to have context. Culture, also his education. He was a Pharisee of Pharisees. Right? He was a rabbinical Jew. He actually declares himself a Pharisee in one of the epistles, or probably one of the Book of Acts, I think. I am a Pharisee of Pharisees, fighting against the Sadducees about the resurrection of the dead. So anyway,
In reference to that, we actually, in Apologetics 6, we spoke of Galatians 3:10 to 13, which says,
Yep.
As for many as other works of Torah are under the curse, for it has been written, cursed is everyone who does not continue in all that has been written in the book of Torah
Yep.
to do them, and that no one has declared right by Torah before Elohim is clear, for the righteous shall live by belief, by faith.
Yep.
And the Torah is not of belief, but the man who does do them shall live by them. Mashiach redeemed us from the curse of Torah, having become a curse for us, for it has been written, cursed is everyone who hangs upon a tree.
Yep.
So it's to do with, he took the actual curse,
Yep.
and we live by the faith in
Yeah.
him.
So why do we need to do the Torah at all? Because the man that does it shall live by them, right?
But it says, it curses everyone who does not continue in all that has been written in the book of Torah to do them.
What about for not the hearers of the Torah are righteous in the sight of Elohim, but the doers of the Torah shall be declared right.
Alright, what's that?
Romans 2:13.
Romans 2:13. Again, Paul is having a moment there. He's saying one thing in one book and another thing in another book. He's contradicting himself again. Make up your mind, Paul. Do we do the law or don't we do the law? Or is he talking about something else? Right? We said he's talking about the curse of the law, right? And I think that's the point that people miss. The point that people miss on this passage is that he's talking about the curse of the law. Right? It says the decree that was contrary to us, this is what was nailed to the cross. It wasn't the law itself. The law was never nailed to the cross. It was the decree that was contrary to us. Right? The punishment for our disobedience to the law. Right? What is sin?
Transgression of law.
Lawlessness. The Bible defines sin as the transgression of the law. 1 John, what? Sorry?
Huh?
1 John 3.
5:7. Nigel, see that little thing that says the friend that says love?
That's where it is.
Is that the behind that little candle? There's what's the scripture on it?
3:4.
Are you talking about, by this we know that we love the children of Elohim? And we love Elohim and guard his commands, for this is a love for Elohim. We guard his commands, and his commands are not heavy.
That's another one that you can use here.
Yep. Paul's saying that the Torah is not based on trust and faithfulness.
Yep.
And then he says, but in Scripture has locked up the whole world under sin, so that the promise based on trust in Messiah Yeshua might be given to those who trust.
Yep.
The
So you gotta
righteousness,
come through belief, through trust.
faith and righteousness. Yep.
Which is not through the Torah. 'Cause he
It's
said
not
the
through the written Torah, no.
Yeah.
He has to
Sure.
come through faith. Just like Abraham believed by faith and it was counted to him as righteousness. Then he did the works of the Torah. Right? The works of the Torah should be a result of the righteousness that was imputed to you through
fruits
faith.
of faith.
So it comes from faith first. He who believes and is baptized. Baptism is after. Well, the works come after. Belief is first.
It's a
First.
result of faith
Yeah.
works.
So faith comes first. That's what Paul is arguing about. Having cancelled the debt ascribed unto us in the decree that stood against us, he took it away, nailing it to the cross. Colossians 2:14. Colossians 2:14. Right? As Paul at any point says, there is no law, guys.
No.
Does he give a law of no law? It's not a law. He doesn't give us a law in any way. He's just discussing the issues.
No.
Okay. So far, Paul hasn't given us any laws. All right, now we're gonna get into some controversial stuff. Ladies, don't talk for this next few minutes. 1 Corinthians 14. Who's got that verse?
I do.
Yep.
I just got one question. There is
Yep.
about 5 parts that actually follow that. Do you want me just to read the one and leave the others out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, shall. Because that's going to open another can of worms.
Yeah.
Let your women be silent in the assembly, for they are not allowed to speak, but let them subject themselves, as the Torah also says.
Okay. Let them be submitted, as the Torah also says. Well, there you go, girls. The Torah says you need to be quiet. Is that right?
To submit themselves, subject, not
No, not yet. Relax. Relax.
they
coming
subject
down.
themselves.
Okay, who's M?
Me.
Alright. Yep.
Wow.
Let a woman learn in silence, in all subjection. But I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, rather to be in silence.
There you go. Be silent, learn in silent. Don't get up and have authority over a man. Do not teach. Just have babies.
In silence.
And don't you wear shoes. Babies in silence.
But
There's a sign, right?
Look
You
at
know why
that
women
face.
have short feet?
because
Because so they can get closer to the kitchen sink. No, sorry.
you want to be popular.
Oh.
Hey, not my saying, right?
But just on
But
that,
this is Paul, right?
But
He's
just on that-
he's a macho chauvinist.
but just on that, how can it be? This is the same man that says there's no Greek, there's no Roman, there's no woman, there's no men, so we're equal. How can this
No,
be?
he always has this issue, right?
I know.
He's like,
That's not. It's taken out of context.
I think
Come
there's
on.
going to be a queue up in, when Messiah returns, there's going to be a queue in New Jerusalem just to beat him up.
It's a question.
Because he kept changing his mind back and forth.
Controversial Paul.
Alright, so, or easy, anyway.
No.
Let's look at this.
Just a question.
Yep.
So if he was a Pharisee of Pharisees,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't he follow the law?
He had to.
Which one? Which law?
Oh,
Which law?
Torah?
Torah or the Son of
Torah?
Paul?
Yeah.
Because the Pharisees have another law, which is called the oral law.
Oh.
Right? So they follow what we know as the Talmud or the Zohar. right? So they are the three different branches of Judaism, right? And the Pharisees are only one of them. So you had the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes, the three biggest sects of Judaism at the time of Messiah. And Paul says he's a Pharisee, he's a Pharisee of Pharisees. So the Pharisees not only followed the Torah, they also followed the instructions of the elders, which is what we know as the oral Torah, which became the Talmud, right? And the Sadducee doctrine became what we know as the Kabbalah, or the Zohar. Okay? So, women be silent. What do we say about that, guys? Because the women can't talk right now. No. Feel free, ladies. I'm just joking.
I don't see many smiles.
We're not popular in that comment, so
Well, here it actually seems like Paul is laying down the law. I do not permit, right? This is a law. He's laying down the law. Women to teach, or to exercise authority, or to speak in the congregation. He's laying down the law. So what do we say to Paul? Or to people quoting this?
Say that the only reason you say that is because your wife isn't with you right now.
Well, why is he saying this?
Yes.
do you know, leaving
But
jokes
Adam,
aside,
It was a
Adam and
joke.
Eve? Yep. What about it?
Yeah.
What about it?
Well, what about it?
What about it? Talk.
Had she been silent,
Yeah.
he would not have eaten the
She
fruit.
could have silently
If you just
taken
go
the fruit.
further down,
Yeah, but
it
not
says because
top.
Adam was formed, then Eve, and
Top.
Adam
It
was not deceived
it
but
says
by the
he-
woman.
Alright, so wives never talk to your husbands again.
no, my point
Through
before,
temptation, maybe. Do not tempt. Oh,
my
So-
point before was, you know, as much as we would like to joke about that, people make doctrines out of this,
Yeah.
and they actually take it to a point that literally, they actually quote scripture and it becomes a law unto their own right. Women cannot say, cannot teach, cannot speak, it's only men, and that is so wrong. Because we will look at the scripture that defiles that, and it's taken it completely out of context.
Okay.
There's something interesting in this verse
Hold
here.
on.
Oh.
Nigel had a...
So before we were talking about context, and obviously the letter was addressing something that was happening within a church.
a congregation.
So is that more about a certain context, or is that about?
Well, I think so. I think there was a context. But
Because
that's
that's
my...
the way I always
my
understood
view.
it.
well,
Yep.
Yeah. Hold on.
he's in Roman.
We've got an order. Let the women speak.
I'm gonna speak because my husband has let me speak.
I've been given authority. Here it comes.
Well, it says here that they can't speak because the Torah says so. The Torah doesn't say that anywhere.
Oh,
No,
he's lying.
Actually,
subject
Paul's
themselves
lying to
in
us.
submission.
and actually, it's the fault of the translation of the Bible because it's not the Torah that it should be, but the law.
Which Torah?
That's
The
where the law
verbal
should
Torah?
be. You should say the law does not let, not the Torah.
Is it
The
stated
oral.
in the Talmud
No, I
though?
mean-
In the verbal Torah? Does it state that? I haven't read the Talmud.
In the verbal Torah, in
Yeah.
the Talmud, oh, absolutely.
Well, that's
In
probably
the
what it
Talmud, it says also, you know, one of the prayers says, "Thank you, God, because you didn't make me a dog or a woman."
So
So,
they put them in the same
You
level.
know,
So women
some
can't
claim
pray.
it's a beautiful prayer. I think it's demonic. A dog meaning someone from the nations, actually, not a dog. You know, it's a derogatory term for the people of the nations.
So
Not
So-
Lolita.
what does it talk about a three-stranded
Huh?
three-stranded cord?
Yep. It's not
What is
easily
that?
broken. Yep. That's in Amos, isn't it? A three-stranded cord is not easily broken.
Ecclesiastes.
Or Ecclesiastes, sorry.
Wasn't it a law even in Rome that women could not speak in
Yeah.
public or in parliament?
That was the law that it's
That was
referring to.
before
The fall of Rome, but
the fall of Rome. Yeah. Before I think before the time of Messiah, or just during the time of Messiah. It changed by the time Paul is writing to the Corinthians. So
But
yeah.
during the time that this was written, there was a bit of a
he had
a
changed. That's the
feminist
problem.
boost.
Yeah.
Women were trying to become more independent.
So historical context, at the time Paul is writing this, there was an upheaval in the Corinthian cities because they had passed a new law that the women could now own land, they could actually speak publicly,
Have
or
an
debate
opinion.
publicly. They could still not go into the Senate and be part of the Senate, but they had a lot more freedoms now that they didn't have before. They could own land, which meant that they didn't necessarily need to be married anymore, right? So they could be free and frivolous, so as much as they wanted to. So there was this upheaval of women now being taught, philosophy and stuff. The New Women of Rome. So if you look up the New Women of Rome, you're gonna find a couple of books that are really good about the state of affairs of women and men. There was the feminist revolution began at that time, around 100 AD, or around the destruction of the temple, thereabouts. So, yep.
So there was a law that said that women couldn't speak, but that wasn't the Torah law.
There was actually two laws, the Roman law and there was the Talmud, or an oral law for that.
Without sounding
Yep.
like bigotry or hatred towards women, how long, from what I understood from the little research that I've done on it,
Yep.
it wasn't long before the fall of Rome,
Oh, absolutely.
after all this had happened.
Absolutely.
There was an imbalance and everything just collapsed, imploded really.
Because,
So that's probably,
well, yeah. Marriage collapsed at that point. So the society itself collapsed as well. But it doesn't, that's a secondary thing. I know it's all related. But is Paul actually giving us a commandment here? And saying that that commandment comes from the Torah? Right?
So, sorry, I'm just getting my head around it.
Yep.
So if our kids were yelling out in the middle of teaching, we would say to them, you need to be quiet during the teaching.
Yep.
So, to me, isn't this sort of the
Very
same
similar,
thing?
I think, yeah. I think so. I think it's trying to put order. I don't think it's a commandment.
It's not
as
that
such.
you're telling your kids that they can't ever say something during the teaching.
Yeah.
It's just you're telling them, hey, it's not appropriate to yell out or...
Which is probably what was happening. The thing is, these new women of Rome,
Yeah.
who were debating, who were being taught in the schools of philosophy, right? They will go into these public meetings, because they were public meetings, right? And they will walk into the public meetings and start debating. So there was disrupting the whole meeting. There was no meeting, right? The meeting would be destroyed. I think that was the end of it. It was a religious thing. These women who were not religious would come in and start debating.
Troublemakers.
Right? Troublemakers. And because the law was on their, now had changed and they were on their backs, it's like the feminist movement. Let's say the whole feminist movement thing comes in now, breaks in the doors and just gets in here and starts yelling and screaming about women's leave and all this stuff. Right? It disrupts the meeting. This is what Paul is saying.
Yeah.
I think that's all he's saying. There's no
Yeah.
commandment as such. In Torah, the commandment is not there, right? And what Paul is saying there, if you read carefully what he's saying that submission is in the Torah.
Exactly.
He's not saying that being silent is in the
So
Torah,
meet themselves.
but the submission is in the Torah, and that is true.
I guess if you're looking at it as he's talking to a specific church,
Yep. Yep.
it changes the context of what he's saying.
On that note, I was just remembering when I happened to do, and I'm sure to a certain degree you would have taught similar, if not the same, when I did Bible college, that when this was happening in Corinthians,
Yeah.
there was an uproar and trying to liberate, and women used to drink a lot, and because of this they actually would go to the synagogues and start making all sorts of questions, and therefore Paul starts saying, Let your women be silent in assemblies, for they do not allow to speak, but let them subject themselves to the Torah. Also says, and if they want to learn whatever, let them ask their own husbands at home, for it is improper for women to speak in the assemblies. So he goes on and actually raves on a little bit about that, but it's to do with the way a lot of the women that were drunk conduct themselves at the actual synagogues.
So it's talking about submission to their husbands, right? And it's talking about the authorities that God has established from the beginning. It's not actually telling them you cannot talk at all, whatever, you know.
Yep.
But it's actually addressing the issues that are happening in Corinth and in Corinth alone.
Yep.
It's not for everyone, forever. Just like I'm the leader of the congregation, if I see something wrong, I have to address it.
You see
Right.
the kids playing on the iPad
Yep.
during your...
You know, or the kids are getting really loud and we can't hear what we're going, you know, what we're studying or whatever. I have to address it. Say, guys, be quiet.
Your
You know?
parents don't give your kids red drinks before that.
Too much sugar or whatever. You know,
It's a law.
is it a law that I'm putting down? No, I'm just addressing an issue. You know, so it happens all the time in scripture. You know, Moses does the same thing. You know, Joshua does the same thing. We see it over and over again. The judges, right? They're addressing issues. Does that change the Torah? Absolutely not. Does that add to the Torah? Then we have a problem. Jesse. Is Jesse there? Yeah? Can we read the Deuteronomy 4:2, please? Loud and clear, because that's our basis.
Do not add to the word which I command you, and do not take away from it, so as to guard the commands of Yehovah, the Elohim, which I am commanding you.
Do not add and do not take away from this Torah, right? From these instructions. So if Paul is adding another law to the Torah, he's breaking the Torah.
That's right.
Breaking the Torah is what?
Sin, lawlessness.
Lawlessness, sin. Right? So if Paul is adding to the Torah,
He's cursed.
he's just got himself under the curse of the Torah, right? I mean, if that is a Torah law, if that is in the Torah, then okay. But that's not in the Torah. So let's stop making that a law. Well, Paul is the apostle, right, to the Gentiles, and if he recommended it to that congregation, then everybody should follow that, right? Because he was a man of authority. Come on, honestly? Are we following men now and not God?
No.
Even if Paul had said that and that became a law, Paul is in sin. He's breaking the Torah.
Yep.
Right? Now, if that's a recommendation, and we want to take it as a recommendation,
We are
and
the sin.
put it in our congregations, okay, that's up to you. I'm not judging you for that. But to make that a law for everyone, that's ridiculous. Paul never made it a law. He couldn't. He could never make that a law. Right? So you can follow men, or you can follow God. The Torah never says women be silent in the congregation. The Torah does say submit yourselves to one another, right? And it does say for the women to be submitted to their husbands. This is what the Torah says, right? And we looked at it, why the reason of that, right? During our study of the women's role, we looked at that. But it's not to thumb the women down. We keep putting our women down, right? That's not what Paul is saying. Paul is addressing an issue, yes. What was the context of the time? The rebellious feminist movement that had broken out in Rome. Right? That's what he was addressing. Do we have that same issue now? To some degree, yes, but not to that degree that was in Rome at the time. It's not the same. We can't apply the same pill for all sicknesses. Right? We gotta work out what's going on and then sort out the issues as they come. We can't rely on what was happening in Corinthians at the time to sort our issues now. That's not how it's done. You know, apart from that, it's not a Torah commandment. End of story. That's it. That's where it stops. It's not a Torah commandment. I don't have to follow that. I can look at it, I can learn from it, I can apply principles from it, all that sort of stuff. But I don't have to put women down. In fact, a lot of really good conversations during our studies come from the ladies. So why would I do that? Yep.
I don't see it as saying all women be silent.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I don't think that's
But
what Paul is
there
saying.
are certain people.
Of course. And I think that's the point that he was making.
And like you said, how it was back then, look, I don't know too much about how bad it was back then, but
It got really bad.
it's pretty bad now.
Yeah, it got a lot worse than what we have now.
Yeah?
The women
A lot.
finally got a voice, and
Yeah.
they were using it.
Who?
The women finally got a voice, and they were using it.
When?
Yeah,
Back
it was a violent confrontation.
They,
It was
So
they,
now
pretty
they
violent.
went from this extreme to the other extreme.
It was pretty violent.
What do you mean?
Oh, they would take over places. They would just break in and go into public. Every public place was taken over. So this is what was going on.
Matthew.
It was a full-on thing. So anyway,
Got along.
ladies, why are you so quiet?
They're taking it in.
They're reading Ezra. They're scared.
Don't be scared. Oh no, battery's down. Okay, it's gonna shut up. Close. All right.
Next.
So we're on number 3. Oh yeah, we're gonna be here till next week. How about we read the rest of them really quickly and we'll pick which ones are laws.
No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for your stomach and for your frequent ailments.
Okay.
All the doctors.
So the first one was not a law. The second one was not a law. Third one was not a law. Drinking wine with food.
It's a suggestion.
Recommendation.
Yes.
We agree.
Could that be because the women were drinking too much and you wanted them to eat first?
It's got nothing to do with women. It's got to do with the
You
stomach.
know, you said they were getting drunk and going and yelling.
No, you said that.
Stabilize them.
Yeah, eat first, then drink wine.
All right. So drinking wine is a suggestion, recommendation. All right. Romans 2:25.
For circumcision indeed profits, if you are a doer of the law, but if you are a transgressor of the law, your circumcision has become uncircumcision. If therefore the uncircumcised keep the ordinances of the law, won't his uncircumcision be accounted as circumcision? Won't the uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfills the law, judge you, who with the letter and circumcision are a transgressor of the law? For he is not a Jew who is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew who is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, not in the letter, whose praise is not from men but from God.
All right. Awesome. Acts 15.
And certain men came down from Yehuda and were teaching the brothers, unless you are circumcised according to the practice of Moshe, you are unable to be saved. So when Shaul and Barnabas had no small dissension and dispute with them, they arranged for Shaul and Barnabas and certain others of them to go up to Jerusalem to the emissaries and the elders about this question. So being sent on their way by the assembly, they passed through Phoenicia and Samtramon, relating the conversion of the nations, and they were causing great joy to all the brothers. And having arrived in Jerusalem, they were received by the assembly and the emissaries and the elders, and they reported all that Elohim had done with them. And some of the believers who belonged to the sect of Pharisees rose up and saying, have I got the wrong one? No.
No.
No, I'm
1
still
to
going.
10.
Yeah, I'm still,
Yeah.
Still waiting for the second.
I'm waiting for the circumcision. And some of the believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees rose up, saying, it is necessary to circumcise them and to command them to keep the Torah of Moshe. And the emissaries and the elders came together to look into this matter. And when there had been much dispute, Kepha rose up and said to them, Men, brothers, you know that a good while ago Elohim chose among us, that by my mouth the nation should hear the word of the good news and believe. And Elohim, who knows the heart, bore witness to them by giving them the set-apart spirit, as also to us, and made no distinction between us and them, cleansing their hearts by belief. And now then, why do you try Elohim by putting a yoke on the neck of the taught ones, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear?
Okay. So the first part in Romans tells you that circumcision doesn't profit you unless you keep the law.
Yep.
Oh, hold on.
You're not supposed to keep the law.
Didn't Paul say no law? No, we said that's not what Paul said, right? So if you keep the law, circumcision serves you well, right? But if you are a transgressor of the law, circumcision doesn't serve you in any way.
That's right.
Right? In other words, circumcision can be against you because of the fact that you circumcise yourself to keep the law, but you're not keeping it, right?
Yeah.
So that's a totally different argument that he's going about. Then he says, what he's saying next is, if the uncircumcised keep the law, you know, what's the difference whether they're circumcised or not? Right? If they're keeping it, don't bother them. Let them keep the law, right? Let them do what is right. Because that becomes a law unto themselves, right? They become a law unto themselves. Let them do the law because they're learning, right? They're just learning. And when it comes time, when they understand the law and they, you know, begin to walk in it, this is talking about the first believers, the ones that just got converted. He's talking about the ones that he went to preach, right? Paul went to preach them. Saying, don't bother them. You know, our forefathers never bear this burden, right? Talking about Abraham. Abraham believed by faith first, right? Then he learned to know God and eventually he circumcised. He came out of his own heart. You didn't have to force him, put a knife to his throat, get circumcised or else, right? He came to it on his own. Right? Because of his faith, he came to it on his own. And everyone after that is commanded to do that. Once you learn about the commandment of circumcision, or what it means, the threshold covenant and all that sort of stuff, then it's natural. It's the natural next step. Right? But Paul is saying, they're getting saved and you're trying to force them into circumcision before they even have a chance to understand what they're doing. Right? The Gentiles, and they're still keeping the law, even though they're Gentiles, right? When they come to know the knowledge of Messiah, they fall in, and you are putting this burden on them, which basically kicks them out again. Because, you know, they don't know. Oh, well, you want to cut me up? I mean, why? Why do you want to do that? Right? It's foreign. It's a foreign concept. So why would you put circumcision as a burden for the people that are being saved, right? You close the kingdom of God to them. They don't understand yet. Right? This is why the Council of Jerusalem was so pivotal, because they give them 4 or 5 things to do, right? Do this and we'll have fellowship basically. And then each week, right? Every Shabbat they are being taught Moses. Right? In all the congregations they are being taught. Moses has in every place those who teach the Torah, right? So the point is they continue to learn until the point that they can cross over, right? And they can get circumcised. But that has nothing to do with salvation. Circumcision doesn't bring you salvation.
Yep.
Right? So let's stop pushing people to the circumcision. They have to come to it on their own accord, because it has to be from the heart. Circumcision of the heart is the first step. And then you circumcise the flesh. It's not that circumcision is invalid. Paul is not saying circumcision is invalid. What he's saying is it's not for salvation. Right? And this is the argument he makes in most of the letters that talk about circumcision. Right? Paul is arguing about the circumcision party. Unless you are circumcised and keep the law, then you're not saved. Well, no, you're saved by faith in Messiah, right? Accepting Him as your Lord and Savior, as your atonement. Then you learn Moses, and then you keep the laws, and then you circumcise. That's the order, not the other way around. Because the other way around puts a burden on people that kicks them out of the kingdom. They don't want to be part of it.
Perhaps.
Yep.
Therefore, that would be one of, it could have been many, but would have been one of the reasons that Paul had clashes with Peter for that reason.
Yeah. Well,
Because Peter was actually speaking, as we've seen beforehand, you need to get circumcised as a Jew and so forth, but he was saying, no, you need to do the heart as you mentioned, and then the flesh follows.
So is Paul actually adding a law of no circumcision?
No, he's restating it.
He's restating about salvation.
It's making
Salvation
a case.
through circumcision. He's making a case.
In verse 7 actually says that Peter's saying that bit.
Yeah, read that.
So Peter stood up and said to them, Brothers, you know that in the early days God chose from among you that by my mouth the Gentiles should hear the message of the good news and believe. And God knows the heart testified to them by the Ruach HaKodesh, just as he also did for us. He made no distinction between us and them, purifying their hearts through faith. Why do you put God to the test by putting a yoke on the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we have been able to do?
Yeah. God never put that yoke on his people. He said, believe first. Belief comes first. Alright, so moving on. Food offered to idols. I'll try to read it quickly. What is it?
1 Corinthians 8.
4 to 13. Wow, okay. That's a long one. So then, about eating food sacrifices to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one, for even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many so-called gods, and many idols, many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things come, and for whom we live, and there is but one Lord, Yeshua the Messiah, through whom all things come, and through whom we live. But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols, right? Context. That when they eat sacrificed food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. But food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your right does not become a stumbling block for the weak. For if some with a weak conscience sees you with all your knowledge, eating an idol in an idol's temple, won't that person be emboldened to eat what is sacrificed to the idols? For these brother and sisters, for whom Christ died, if this weak brother or sister for whom Christ died is destroyed by your knowledge, when you sin against them in this way and with their weak conscience you sin against Christ. Therefore, if what I eat causes my brother or sister to fall into sin, I will never eat meat again, so that I will not cause them to fall. So is this a law about not eating food sacrificed to idols? No, it's telling you that there's no problem in eating the food sacrifices to idols. The problem is your brothers and sisters who are coming out of idolatry, and then they see you eating food sacrificed to idols, and they think, well, how does this work? He's eating it. Well, maybe it's okay. When they're eating it, they're thinking that food has been sacrificed to their idol, right? So if we had people from Muslim background, for example, the food that they kill, it's okay for us to eat, halal. But for them, they actually pray over it to their idol, right? To Allah. And the same thing with the Hindus, and the same thing with the Buddhists. So they have these rituals where they pray for their food. So if one of them were here, then the problem would be that their understanding is the same as yours. Otherwise, if their understanding is not full, what we're doing is giving them permission to go back. You know what I mean? So this is all that Paul is arguing. So is that a law?
I see a trend.
It's like if someone saw us celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
It's opinion. They're not laws are there.
The trend, yeah. We didn't call it that.
Imitate me.
Next.
Let me take your tea.
Oh yeah.
Your tea.
It's a lot of meat in here. It's a lot of meat, right? You'll need to go back after and digest this, right? We only got a short time to study all this, so it's full on, but
Yeah. Be imitators of me just as I also am of Messiah.
well, he's commanding you to imitate him, right?
A lot of people do that.
let's all dress up like Paul with long robes, right?
Made out of camel
Um,
skin, don't forget that.
No, Paul didn't have camel skin, that was John the Baptist.
Says
We're
imitate
taking
me
the
the
wrong
way I
way.
imitate Messiah.
Yep. So, okay, so Messiah
Jeez,
walked
Caleb,
around
that's a camel head.
with a long robe made of a single string,
New fashion.
right? So let's all get one single string made up robes, and we'll all walk around with single string made up robes
In linen.
of linen, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
could be.
and linen undergarments too, even though they're a bit itchy, because Messiah and Paul dressed that way, right? Is that what he's saying?
Difficult getting into the car, getting it off.
We gotta go into every synagogue that we find
You can't rip it.
and fight with the Jews
But
and
in
get
what-
kicked out and allow them to stone us, because this is what Paul did, right? So we're gonna go
Yeah.
and do the same thing.
So in what areas is he asking us to
Well,
imitate?
that, you know, I'm just going,
Yeah, I know.
stupid and taking it to an extreme,
But I'm
because
just thinking he doesn't actually say what areas.
that's right. And I think we're talking about an area of faith. He's talking about his faith, right? His obedience, really. Be obedient like I am obedient, like Messiah was obedient to his Father.
You obey the commandments.
I came to do my Father's will, he said. Right?
It's like a joining comment because it's in between, like it's the first verse in the in that chapter, and before it was talking about the feasting,
Yep.
not with idols, and then the next heading is the headship and coverings.
Yep.
So it's just
Which is about authorities. But,
So is
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. But
So is the first verse or is it?
yeah.
it's
So we gotta look at the context. We can't just say, well, be imitators. Well, what do? We're gonna have 9 trips
Should
or
we
whatever. How many trips he did?
speak his language?
Go into Turkey and into
Yeah.
go and get shipwrecked in Malta.
Yeah.
Right? Find a snake which you can't find, or maybe take a snake with you so you can
Everyone's
bite
got family there. You don't want to put you there.
Maybe we'll take a snake and
You can't.
So do we
you
have
can't,
to come back?
you can't imitate it because the snakes there now are non-venomous.
yeah.
Sharks.
And we need natives. We need natives. Anyway, now it
We
just
need to
gets
sit around
ridiculous,
with
right?
you
So
on a
obviously
campsite.
this is not a commandment,
No.
right? He's just making a statement. Imitate me in my obedience as I imitate what Messiah did in his obedience, right? As in keeping the Torah, in doing faith.
But perhaps, just on that note, there are many passages where Paul does talk about even his behaviour. For example, there's one specific one that it says, we work, we pay for all our food, we do the right thing, so we don't get any handout.
Yep.
So again, it's the imitation of doing the right thing as Jehovah has instructed him to do.
Yeah.
Not living off someone else freely, but everything in the righteous place in the right time.
Yep. So, can we write that off as a law? He's not putting you're not putting a law.
No.
He's giving you
Statement.
a very wise recommendation, right?
Well, he became the first
Oh yeah,
to cross over.
the apostle to the Gentiles.
Yeah.
So we can.
Which brings us to the next one. Run the race.
G. Do we have a G?
Catch the pigeon.
1 Corinthians 9:24.
Graham.
Yes. Do you not know that those who run in a race indeed all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way as to obtain it.
It's
There you
become
go.
one that's happened.
Alright, let's get our leotards. And
It's the new religion.
100-meter dash.
It's the new religion.
we're gonna go and race around the block. And we're gonna race like we wanna win.
I'm not a mammal.
Right, is that a commandment?
No.
No.
Okay.
Another recommendation.
Another recommendation, of course.
A good one at that.
Wouldn't hurt
Good
us
one.
to run a bit.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. Okay.
Especially after Shabbat.
The treadmill.
Especially after the Shabbat.
That's it.
With all the
Oh yes.
with all the feasting that we did. Alright, next one. It's a controversial one.
Yes, yes, I found it quite
interesting one.
We are saved. This group is saved.
Okay, so
We are saved.
1 Timothy 2:15.
Jess is a little bit scared back there.
Young girls who haven't had children, you're not saved yet. Well, this is what, if we understand what Paul is saying, as a commandment,
Do we have a challenge?
right? Who's gonna read it? Hey,
Abigail.
Abigail.
That was Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
Aaron?
But she shall be saved in childbearing
Oh, we
if they
missed that,
continue
yeah.
in belief, and love
She's
and
hiding.
holiness with sensibleness.
Yep. So, what was that, Aaron? Can you read it loud again?
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
Loud and clear.
No laughing.
But she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in belief and love.
Right. You gotta be in faith and in love. Right? So first part is okay, Jesse. You're ready. You're in faith and in love. Now you have to have children.
Ooh.
Lots of them, please. Twins are welcome. Triplets, no problem.
That's after marriage though.
Yeah. Yeah, wait for marriage. Though. That would help.
Yeah, please.
It's small but big problem.
Okay.
if not.
Until then, eat well. Take care of yourself.
Get prepared.
Get ready. Okay. Back to the text. Oh man, I'm losing
It's okay.
Okay, Father help me.
Starving her.
Focus.
Focus. Alright. So what is Paul saying there? Come on, ladies. You tell me. What is
I
Paul
know.
saying? Yes, I know.
I know you know. That's a good one.
Opinions. I'll let you burst the bubble.
Saved in what way?
Saved is saved. That's all it says. It says saved. If you continue in faith and in love, so it's got to be related to faith and love. So we're talking about salvation. Right? Or are we?
If they continue in belief and love and for God, it's sensible. Wow. So,
Where do we leave the girls that aren't married yet? Where do we leave our young daughters? Where do we leave the people that can't have children? Or that haven't gotten married? Or that got married but didn't have children, then got too old to have children? Or, you know, Are they all condemned because they didn't have children?
No, surely not.
Well, they can. Is their genetics condemned? It's the end of their line.
Ah, maybe there is something. Okay. Maybe there's
So
something
can
there.
they say when you said the teaching of women, it makes men immortal? Or they carry the genetic.
We did touch on this when we did the study of the women.
Yeah.
So if you were there, you will remember.
Pablo, could be because the first command was multiply,
This
bless.
also multiplies subsidiaries.
Yes,
Yep.
so God gave that command.
Yeah.
But
With
it's not
Adam and
like,
Eve, yeah.
yes, but
I think it's linked to that commandment.
yes.
So what's it mean in the old days when a majority of women died during childbirth? How does that sit with that?
Did they have a baby? Well, they would have been in childbirth, so they had a baby. So whether the baby was alive or not, doesn't matter, they had a baby.
So if they were
They're
to die
saved.
during childbirth, then you are.
What about a total heathen that doesn't have any belief or faith in Messiah whatsoever? Oh well, the requirement is you have to have faith, right? Continuing faith. So I guess that rules out non-faithful.
Could be also because if the woman is buried, she can't have babies. Could be because for the society in that moment, shame for the husband, for the family, for
Shame for her too.
yes,
Oh, women do carry the shame. I'm not saying,
yes.
that's not true. What I'm saying is Paul being so heartless here that he's putting this commandment in there. Is it in Torah, first of all?
No.
Is there anywhere in the Torah?
I haven't seen it.
Has anybody found a commandment in the Torah that says the women have to have children to be saved?
No.
No?
Nope.
Not to be saved.
So then is Paul adding to the Torah?
Well, Paul or someone.
Well, this is Paul. First Timothy is Paul writing.
Okay.
Paul writing to Timothy.
What did he say?
So if Paul is adding a commandment about women needing to have children to be saved, then he's in sin. And according to Deuteronomy 13, we have to stone him.
What are you saying that as a nation we are saved through childbirth?
I would say yes. We are saved through childbirth as a nation.
Well, as Israel, because you know when
Any nation will be saved through childbirth.
some kings or rulers, or they would try to breed out a people.
Yep. Yep.
And if that happened to Israel in Egypt as well.
Yep.
So they were saved through childbirth too.
Yep.
But the fact that Yeshua
We're
was
getting
born,
close.
the fact that Yeshua was
Keep
born,
opinion, man. Tell us.
Yeshua was born of a woman, and he brought salvation to mankind.
Right, so we go back to the curse, or not the curse, the prophecy, really. I think it's a prophecy. You know, in your seed, I will put enmity between your seed and her seed. And then when he promises to Abraham, he says, in your seed. Right? So, Chaz, give us the lowdown.
Well, there's two parts to it. There's that part,
Yeah.
but then there's a part that during that time there was the feminist revolution, and so the ones that had a lot of time to create havoc were the ones that didn't have children. And so if they
Career
had
women.
children and they had responsibilities at home,
Yeah.
then they would be obedient to their husbands or subject to their husbands, and so they wouldn't get into so much folly and havoc.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
That was the two parts.
Career women.
Can
A
I
lot of
ask?
career women now prefer to career not kids.
Can I ask a question to the mothers?
Yeah.
Is there a distinctive change in yourself, chemically or